Hello, this is Michael from the Boardgames Chronicle again. Welcome to the second material I prepared about Bayonets and Tomahawks, a very interesting card-driven game for 2 players, created by Mark Rodriguez. What kind of game is it, and what story it tells, what components it has? I provided in a pretty elaborate way in my first video. This was the unboxing video, link below and also in suggestions, so you can click there to learn more. Today only briefly. This is a 2-player game. It takes place in 18th century between 1755 and 1760. You can call it kind of a spin-off of 7 Years' War, which was raging in Europe. During this period, during this war here in North America, the French lost all its North American empire, and it was conquered by the British. What I would like to do today is to describe in more details how the game plays, what are the rules, what are the concepts, to familiarize you guys more with the flow. In my third material, which I will be also publishing soon, I will discuss more about the actual play. So we'll do the example of play. What we have today here is the setup for the first scenario. This game can be played over the 5 years of the war, but also in a smaller scenarios. We have here the year track, which shows us, year 1755, 56, 57, 8, and 9. So 5 years of the war. I think that we'll start with a map, game map, so you can understand better how is it structured. What we can see here is the North America with the British colonies and the French colonies and wilderness in the middle and some reservoirs for Indians. One player will be taking the lead of French, which are mainly here, and most of Indian troops. The other player will take lead of the British. By British, we mean the metropolitan British, but also the colonial British. We would have a lot of colonial troops here. On the French side, we would also have metropolitan French, but also some colonial French, like here. Yeah, you can see in Quebec some brigades of the local troops. And what else do we have on this map? Let me start from the top. Here is a victory point track. As you can see, there is no 0, so there is always a lead by one or the other side. So this is the track which shows us who is winning the scenario or campaign. Then you have a battle track, which we'll be using during the battle resolution, and also commander rerolls. Here we have a raid track. A very interesting concept in this game, which I will describe later more, but raiding the enemy areas, enemy settled spaces can give you really nice points. Here we'll have losses for both sides. Here we have our year track and round track. We'll also talk about it in a moment. On the map, you can see different connections. This will be the highways. So here you have a highway. Each type of unit can be moved there, and up to 16 of such units. These are the highways, coastal highways, so you can also move the navy. Then, except for the highways, you would have also paths, and paths would be accessible only to some types of units, not to everybody. During the game, you will be able to build a road, and while highway allows 16 units to be moved, path only 4 units, the road will allow 8 units. Okay, what else from important features of the map? I think it's good to talk about spaces. We have so-called settled spaces. Settled spaces are those colorful places here, which are with a different number, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, yeah. The red ones are, of course, the British controlled. The blue ones are, of course, the French controlled. What this number means? This number means how many raid points or victory points, depending on the action you perform, you will get here when successfully performed. So if you do a raid here, you will get 2 raid points. If French control this point, they get 2 victory points. Okay, what else? There are some white spots over here. These are the wilderness spaces, and also green ones here. These are the Indian villages. Here we would have also the sea box. During the game, you would be able to move, provided you have a fleet, from some spaces adjacent to Atlantic Ocean or Gulf of St. Lawrence to here, and then next turn back on the map, also to the spaces which are adjacent to ocean or the Gulf. Okay, special features would be here in Louisbourg and in Quebec, because you have here something more. You have bastions here. So you can see these were 2 large fortresses. There will be some special rules regarding retreat, regarding the battles there. And next to the some settled spaces, you would also see such markers. That means the militia, which will be taking part in the battles. So these are the settled space, these are the outposts, these are the wilderness spaces, and these are the Indian villages. Okay, I'm checking the map, but I think that's more or less everything which I would like to show you about map. Now let us move to the units. With a couple types of the units, they are pretty nicely differentiated by their shape. First and foremost, we have rectangular units, large rectangular, which are brigades. And these are the regular brigades, and the ones with the markers like here, or like bring some French, like here, are metropolitan brigades. So they actually come from Europe. Yeah. So metropolitan brigades and regular brigades. It's really nicely shown on the other side when they are hit. Yeah, a dark red hit when they are reduced. So this is the first and the most important part of your army. Second would be all triangular units. They are the light units also. Double shaped, at least for those, yeah. The Indians, yeah, is only one hit point. The light ones, the regular ones are 2-sided. The third type would be, first of all, artillery, then forts, and also navy. Let me bring some navy here. Yeah, French and British navy. So this is it. And last but not least, the leaders, the commanders. They would have some specific symbols, like this is a commander of the light units, with 2 rerolls during the battle. Okay, let me see if I have anything to add to those things. Yeah, I talked about bastions. They are also kind of a unit. They prevent the retreat. Okay, now when we are familiar with the map, with the concept, and with the units, let's look at the sequence of play. How the game plays. First and foremost, this is the game which is a card-driven, which lasts up to 5 years. This is set up for the first year and 1 year scenario, 1755. It goes through the 9 rounds. The first 3 rounds are build-up rounds. During those rounds, you use special cards, which gives you less opportunities to move, less opportunities for action. This is a build-up. This is just beginning of a year, the spring. After 2 first rounds, you would have the fleet arrive logistic round. These fleets will be sailing from the old world to the new world and bringing reinforcements, bringing troops, bringing supplies. Then we'll have one more build-up round, and after this, the colonials will enlist. It will be mainly enlistment here in the British part. And then we have 6 rounds of actual fight action. The cards used during this part will be much more powerful with many more actions. So when we talk about cards, it's time to show them. Let me show the cards for the French and for the British and for the Indians. Yeah. Okay. So what we see here, first of all, let's look at the French. The types of cards. These are the build-up cards. You can know it by this build-up name here. Yeah, these are the build-up cards. These are the regular cards, which are drawn during those 6 phases. Also, some cards are limited to particular years, as you can see here. In order to start the game, what you do, you create a build-up deck, you create the regular campaign deck, and during these first 3 rounds, you draw only from this deck, then you start to draw from the second deck. At the beginning of a game, you shuffle build-up deck, you draw 2 cards, you choose one of them, you put the second one to discard, and then each round, you add 1 card from your draw pile. The first 3 rounds in the draw pile are the build-up cards, and you will be playing secretly your card, yeah, for execution. The opponent will do the same at the beginning of the game. They will shuffle the build-up deck. Yeah. They will get 2 cards. They will choose one of them and put second to the discard pile. Then they will draw 1 more card. And at the beginning of action round 1, each of the side will choose 1 card. Plus the French player also will add 1 card for Indian. Let me just take whatever it is. They will reveal them. And they will check this number. This number will show us who has the initiative. In this case, 6, the initiative goes to the French. What initiative does is that the player with the initiative will be choosing who will be the first. They doesn't have to be the first, but they will be choosing who will be the first. So once we revealed the cards, what happened? We will be looking at the start events, because they can happen, and then we will be playing the actions. As you can see, there are some symbols on those cards. Actually, a couple of types of symbols. That means that we can order the light units. That means that we can order any units. That means that we can order any units and use the sail movement. That means that the units have twice as much movement points range. That means that we can use either of those 2. Yeah, these are the main symbols. Let me just check if we have any other. No. Okay. So these are the cards. As you can see, each turn you have 2 cards. So there's no true card management or deck management mechanism. We have pretty limited possibilities, but still they are there. So that's all about cards. Let me just quickly take them to the side, because it's important now to discuss about the actions, action rounds, how all this plays out. Okay, so now let's talk about the action round. Action round, there's a couple of steps in this, as I saw. Each player has one reserve card, yeah, from the last round. Each player draws one additional card. Each player then chooses one to be played. French player adds his Indian card. We reveal them. We check the initiative. In case of a draw, the French has initiative. Then we resolve the start event. The next thing is the first player performs his actions. Then the second player performs his action. What is important, the first player, let's see, yeah, we have such card here. The first player has an option to reserve one of his action for the end of the action round. So French, for example, plays the light unit, then the British plays everything, and then the French play this second action. This is possible. Then we resolve the battles, because battles are not resolved immediately, but the end of the action round. And then we do the end of action round cleanup steps, because the units can be spent and we need to unspend them. That's more or less how the action round looks like. As you can see, we have a lot of Indians who are allied to the French. We have one Indians here, Mohawk, who are allied to the British. During their turn, the Indians are treated as each and every light troop, but if they do the raid, successful raid, they go to the losses. That means that they took some loot and they came back to their villages, and they are not willing to fight anymore this season. We have also those two special spaces, which are the Iroquois and Cherokee. Those are double-sided, and they can be allied either to British or to French. In order to get them as allies, you need to perform one of the two steps. Either you play a diplomacy, which means they go to your side, but in order to play the diplomacy event, you need to be ahead in the points. And then let's say that the French took control of Iroquois. They will put the marker, and they will put them on their villages. Yeah? They have like 3 villages that way. If it was British who controlled them, it would be that way. And we can see that they are on the British side. So the first way to take control of the Indian faction is the diplomacy card. The second is, if your opponent intrudes into their territory, all those black paths means that if you cross this, you actually attacked the Indians. Then, at this moment in time, the opponent, if they did it, they will enrage the Indians and they will be on your side. So in this example, if we have such situation and the French decide to do such a move, so moving through this territory, this immediately becomes British ally. They become British ally. So this is how the Indian faction play. Let me remove it. It's time for the actions description. They are pretty nicely summarized in the player 8. So here are the actions. What actions do we have? First and foremost, we have raid. Raid can be executed only by the light units, and they have movement allowance of 3, and they are the only units which can pass the paths. So for example, this brigade cannot move farther than this outpost, cannot move here. So what they will do in the raid? They will point to the target, which is up to the 3 spaces away, 1, 2, 3, for example, here. They will roll a die. In case of success, they will put a raid marker. So this year it cannot be raid anymore. And in case of Indians, they will go to the losses. In case of light troops, they will just come to their space. I would like now to show you the dices. Yeah, This is pretty interesting die. Let me show you all 6 sides. How do they look like? Okay. Now, these are the all 6 sides of the die. We have 2 flags. We have 1 miss with a reminder that if it's a second miss on the commander reroll, he becomes a casualty. We have Bayonets Tomahawk, and we have a hit. This is triangle, this is circle, and square. Yeah. I will not be explaining everything now, but suffice to say that in case of raid, when you go here, you roll 1 die, and on let me just check it. Yeah, you need to roll a flag, a bayonet, or a tomahawk, or a triangle hit. So those things. Then your raid is successful. So you have 66% chance that your raid will succeed. But this is only against the empty space. Let's say we try to raid this outpost from here. So there is a chance for interception. The light units intercept exactly on this. So they have 66% chance of intercepting. All other units like brigades, like forts, they simply intercept only on flags, so they have 33% of interception. So if you do a raid, you simply try to raid the empty spaces. If you need to raid a space which is not empty, try the space which is not occupied by the light units. Assuming that you manage to raid this space, let me use the light French unit. 1, 2, 3. Let us roll. Yeah, this is success. We need to put the raid here. We need to put the spent marker on this unit. And we also are awarded 2 raid points. When we get to the 8 raid points, we are getting 1 victory point, 1 large victory point. So this is a strategy to get the points. And really, this is one of the best French strategies for victory points. Got it. Let me clean up our raiding party. Let me move now to the second action. The second action will be light movement. Light movement we activated with a triangle. It could be normal, regular light movement, double movement. It could be also the symbol, and these are for the Indians. Light movement is normally free spaces, so from here 1 to 3. But in case of a double, it can be up to 6. So from here it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they can rate even up to this. You need to observe the limits on paths, maximum 4 units going through one path. Then the third action is army movement, which is done by those symbols. Move unit stacks. It's important that it activates not single unit but the stack. The stack has to follow one path. It can pick up the units, but the units which are picked up, like here, count their movement points from the start. Yeah, so if they go here, they can only go up to the 3 spaces because it's assumed this unit was waiting for those from Montreal to pick him up. Army movement allows to move all the units. The regular units moves 2. The light moves 3, and of course we need to observe the restrictions. On path we cannot have the brigades artillery. On a highway we can have but up to 16, and on the roads you can have up to 8. Observe one thing: on the path you cannot have the leaders, the commanders, but you can have the navy. Where do you have such spaces? Here are the spaces where Navy can move, but they are not moving, of course, through the land, but they just simply sail from space to space. So this is the third action. The fourth action is sail movement and landing. In the build-up phase, at the beginning, you will not be able to do it only once the fleets arrive. So let's say we have a fleet here. having such symbol with the fleet symbol, we can, during the movement, sail here. And the next action round, first thing which will happen, free of charge, not utilizing any points, they will land somewhere on the friendly coast. At the beginning of the game, the friendly coast for French are both Atlantic Ocean and Gulf of St. Lawrence. For British, only Atlantic Ocean. But once the Louisbourg falls, the British has also access here. The most tricky thing is when you have double navy movement, because you can, at the one turn, sail here and immediately land somewhere, starting the battle. So yeah, that could be a really surprising move. The fifth action will be martial troops. The martial troops, in case of the battle, let's say we have those 2 units here. We would need some additional units. Let me do this battle here. Have such a battle here, and we have 1 French unit. So martial troops allows you to move all adjacent units to the battle. So like this. They will have penalty for this movement during the battle, but you can have more forces at this one space. Okay. Okay, where did we have him? Oh, here. You see there are names of Indian tribes, which helps you to put them in the right spot. I just put them randomly. The name does not change any special ability of the troop. Last but not least, construction. It can be done by a single brigade, and we have some construction options. We can start constructing fort. Yeah, we can, for example, be here, start constructing fort. Next turn, we can use another action and finish the fort construction and simply put a fort here. Fort is really important. It controls the space, it gives penalty to attacker, it also intercepts raids. Okay. Another construction option would be building the road. So for example, here, during the first round, we start the building. During the second round, we can finish it. And the tricky thing with finishing is that we don't not only put it here, but immediately move all the troops, all unspent troops through this road. So it could also be a surprise to the enemy. So these are the main construction actions. I think that will conclude my description of actions. You see, while not too many, they give you a pretty broad and variable tactical array of actions, of possibilities, of strategies, and so on. So this is more or less how does it look like. I didn't touch the last action, the largest action, the battle. We'll go to this in a moment. Let's say that the British came to this outpost and tried to take control of this. At the same time, the French from Montreal reacted and also brought their troops. And we had a fort here, yeah. What will happen is, as far as the battle resolution is concerned, we'll be trying to calculate the score based on the hits from both sides, based on the rolls, and see where we are with the attack total. Attack total, or let's say attack defender battle score, is here. Both sides start the battle at 0. The attacker will be the British, because the fort was here. In order to win, the attacker needs to have more battle score than the defender. Defender can draw or have more in order to win. We will be fighting all troops in sequence, starting with the light, then through the metropolitan brigades, colonial brigades, and then the forts, the navies, and the artillery. we'll use those dice, but before we start rolling, we need to check if we have any penalties. So if we have a fort, the enemy will have 1 penalty, so it goes down minus. And if the enemy does not have artillery, it's another penalty. We can have also penalties for the troops which just landed from the navy. We can have penalty for marshalling troops. We can have penalty for routed troops. So there are some situations when we have this penalty, and it is reflected here. As you see, by movement here, we already see that British needs to score at least 3 net in order to win this battle. Now, what will happen now? We'll be rolling. We'll be rolling and checking the scores. In order to score a hit on the enemy, we need to differentiate 2 things: scoring the battle points and scoring the hits on the enemy. These are not the same things. Scoring a hit on the enemy means killing the unit or damaging the unit. Scoring a battle point means that we simply move here. Sometimes if you score a battle point, you don't score a hit. Sometimes, but if you score a hit, you always get a battle point. We roll a die. In case of light troops, they hit on flags, and they hit also on this triangle. Yeah, so they have like 50% possibility of getting a point. Flag always moves us 1 point here. The triangle moves us 1 point here and inflicts hit on the same type of unit. It's kind of an important concept. The lights hits only lights. The brigades hits only brigades. It's not always fully true, but in general, this is more or less how does it work. So let's make it even more difficult. Let's make it like this. So we have both regular lights and Indian lights, and in order to score a hit, the lights needs to roll this symbol. If regular rolls this symbol, the first hit needs to go to other regular. If the Indian scores a hit, the first hit needs to go here, and it will be actually killed unit. In case of a flag, if I score a flag, there will be no hit, but we'll be moving here. One exception: there will be no casualty, no hit, unless we are on 0 or more. So if British moves here, they score a battle point, but they do not score a hit on the enemy. So in case they had such a roll, let's say they had such a roll, yeah, 2 of those, they would not inflict any hits here, but they will move up to here. Yeah, so this is how the lights score. They do not score anything on Bayonets and Tomahawks, and they do not score anything on the mids, which is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, let me just see the reference sheet. Yeah. Now for the brigades, we hit score if, again, rolling shape is yeah, just like here. So square, and there are enemies who can be hit. So both things needs to take place. When we advance this one, and if we are above 0, we flip them. What is important? The Metropolitan Brigade also hits on Bayonets and Tomahawk. We remove 1 militia. We don't have any militia here, but in the, let's say, those regions, we would have also militia. And if marker is above 0, we also will apply a hit to enemy brigade. And again, there is a pretty nice reference sheet which shows the priority for the regular lights, for the Indian lights, for the Metropolitan Brigades, for the Colonial Brigades, for the fleets, forts, and artilleries. And this is also the sequence of attack. So let's say those guys rolled something like this. They will inflict 2 hits. Last but not least, we have fleets, forts and bastions and artillery. They also hit between themselves, and they have a really better option of scoring a hit, because you see there is both circle on the triangle and on the square, so they can inflict more hits. To make things even more complicated, if you kill a Metropolitan Brigade, like Highlanders, you will be drawing a special cheat, which is here. And those cheats can have some victory points from 0 to 2, and they are hidden, and they are revealed only at the end of a scenario or the game. So more times you hit, the larger chances that you would have the highest 2 victory points value. At the end of the battle, we evaluate which side had more battle points, and that side is a winner. In the case of a draw, the defenders win. I think the easiest and best way to show such a battle is to show an example. So we'll do it now. I will be running. So as said, the British are at some disadvantage. We'll have also this leader, which will allow rerolls. We'll show how it works. To make it a little more equal, we'll put it here. We'll take the reference sheet. You need to play a couple of times these battles to get a good feeling of what's going on. So we determine the defender. These are the French. We add the militia. We don't have any here. We have some options of emergency replacing the units. I will not go to this here. If we have a reduced units, we would combine them. We place this here and moved back for the penalties. And now we'll be performing battle rolls. First of all, attack. So we roll for the Indians. That's a hit, but we'll not be flipping the unit because we are below 0. And now the regular, nothing. Now we roll with the 3 brigades. We need to do it separately. Highlanders has a reroll. That's a wrong roll. No. Square, yeah, this is a good roll. And now those 2 brigades, 2 flags. So this was the first roll. No hit yet, but those 2 already push us above this battle score. Now we have artillery, which rolls Bayonets Tomahawks. And if I'm not mistaken, if enemy brigade can receive a hit, and it can, artillery just hit them, and we are here. So this is how the attacker attack. Important, if we kill somebody from the defenders, they will still be able to roll their die. Now the defenders. First of all, 2 regular lights. Okay, we go up here. Now the Indian. Sorry for this. This is 1 on, and you see that defender already won, but maybe they can inflict some hits. Now, non-metropolitan brigades. That's 1 more point, and that will be a hit, yeah, because we are above, and the first hit goes to Highlanders. And now we have 2 artilleries. That's a painful thing. By the way, yes. Yeah, okay, everything's fine. I thought that I made a mistake. So these are the 2 hits, and both goes into this artillery. We jump here, and now we have a fort. Fort rolled a Bayonet Tomahawk. Yes, enemy brigade can receive a hit. It goes here, so they lost those 2 units. At the end of the battle, we evaluate the score, battle outcome. And as you can see, there is more than 3 of difference here. That means that the British were not only beaten, but routed, and they need to escape, retreat probably to the space from which they came, and we can actually put, if I of course manage to find it, the route symbol. No, I cannot find. Yes, here it is. And then we put a route here. Okay, so that's everything for the battle. Let me do some quick cleanup of the units. Okay, now how do we reach the victory in the game? We have also this nicely done, nicely written in the rulebook. Here it is. Victory conditions. So the victor is the side which has more victory points at the end of the game. As I told you, there is no 0, so there is no way that there is a draw. And when do you gain, achieve and gain victory points? Gaining control of victory space. So this is 2 victory points for British, this is 3 victory points, and they need to occupy it. If they move from here, they will not be controlling this. This is the control. If this moves here, control is lost. So first of all, gaining control of victory space. The second way to gain victory points is reaching the end of the raid track. 1 victory point for each 8 raid points. We have also some specific scenario victory points. In this first scenario, we had +2 victory points for the British if they control 2 or more French victory spaces. I forgot to say victory spaces are only the gold ones. Yeah, I didn't mention it earlier. The gold ones are victory points. So here, this is only the raid. This is victory point in the raid. The gold ones are victory point spaces. And we also have those cheats for the destroying the brigades. It can also influence the score. So from those 4 sources, gaining control of victory spaces, raiding, special scenario conditions, and destroying enemy metropolitan brigades, we get the victory points. And based on them, we have the score of the game. Okay, one more thing which was left to discuss, and this is like a more advanced part, are those rounds, those logistic rounds. I will only tell them very briefly. I will show them in details in my example of play. Fleet arrives, we take as per scenario. You can show, maybe some scenario. If fleet arrives, we take, for example, such symbols. We put them into the drawback, and we have a special bag to draw them. And each scenario says how many we need to take from there. This is a very long scenario, maybe some smaller ones. Scenario 3. Yeah, it tells us how many we need to draw. The same will be for the colonials and list, when we will also add, for example, colonials. Where do we have colonials? Here we have colonials, here, and here we have colonials. So first step will be drawing with the fleet the reinforcements from the old world, and then drawing the colonials from the new world. You don't know what exactly you get. You sometimes have a special vagaries of war tokens, which means fewer troops, but you don't get anybody. And sometimes you have very nice vagaries of war that you can take, I don't know, 2 artilleries or 2 light units. In winter quarters, we'll be verifying where our units are, whether they are well fed, whether and to what extent they have supply. Also, the colonials will come back to their bases. Let me conclude here. I know that it was very brief and very, let's say, introductory discussion of the Bayonets and Tomahawks game. I really like it. I really like the flow, the interactions, the asymmetry of the game, the limited choices, which can then turn into really great strategies. What I would like also to do in my next material is to show you the full scenario 1 playthrough. I hope you will enjoy it. We'll play for real. We'll be shuffling the cards and drawing them. This is a very good game as far as solitaire suitability is concerned. So we'll be playing it, and then all those rules which I was discussing today in a theoretical way will click, hopefully. So thank you very much for today. Thank you for being with me. Thank you also for liking this video. If you really think that it was worth it, please give a thumb up. If you would like to see more content, more material like this, please subscribe. Thank you and bye for today.